Legal Forms for the Environmental Legal Research course at Boston College Law School. Perhaps you've heard, for want of a nail, the horse was lost. For want of a horse, the rider was lost. For want of a rider, the battle was lost. For want of a battle, the kingdom was lost. And all for the want of a horseshoe nail. Law is a detailed profession, and it's a lot of work paying attention to all those little details that are necessary to achieve the ultimate outcome your client desires. But it's a lot of work keeping track of all those little nails. Lawyers, whether they are in a transactional practice or litigation, create a lot of written documents. The work you do as a lawyer involves paying close attention to your choice of language and making sure everything that needs to be there is included. When you have to write something, why start with a blank computer screen? Why not take advantage of the wisdom of past lawyers and build on what they have done? Don't reinvent the wheel. Start with something that has worked in a similar situation and then customize it to meet the needs of your particular client. The first place to look for forms and examples is in your office content management system. Most large legal practices, government and private, have collections of the work they have already done. These documents have the advantage of already being in the preferred style of your office. If you don't have office files to turn to, don't despair. There are many different places that you can find forms and examples to help your drafting of pleadings, as well as documents of all kinds. There are specific books that include nothing but forms, sometimes with annotations. There are databases on a variety of platforms that have different forms in them, some of which we'll take a look at in a moment. Very often, general secondary sources will include forms, either within the text itself or as exhibits at the end. Any document that another lawyer has drafted can serve as a model to you. So court dockets and SEC filings can be great sources of inspiration in helping you draft your own pleadings and documents. Let's talk first about form books. There are lots of different kinds of form books. There are encyclopedic sets of forms like American Jurisprudence Legal Forms, pictured on the slide, amateur pleadings and practice forms, and there are form books for specific topics and jurisdictions. Also, many books written for practitioners contain forms in them, even if the book is not a form book per se. One way to look for forms is to include the word forms in your catalog search, since those works which include forms usually have a note to that effect in their catalog records. Remember that our catalog provides references to books available online as well as in print, so you can look for electronic form books through our catalog, but you can also go to your favorite online platform. One of the best tools for finding forms on Westlaw Edge is the Form Finder. Form Finder is organized by state, topic, or publication. A good place to start your search for environmental forms is by topics such as environmental law or energy law. Westlaw again prompts you to limit by state, but you can also limit by publication. You can search the forms database or browse by individual publication. Let's look at the Environmental Law Forms Guide. We are taken to an expandable table of contents for this book. We can search the whole book or individual chapters. If we don't know the words to search for, we can expand the outline and select sections of the book to read. On the right, there's also an index for this book. Another place to find forms on Westlaw is the specialty areas. Sample agreements. These are actual agreements that people have entered into, taken from Edgar filings. Because they are part of the Westlaw specialty areas, they are not searched in a global search, but must be chosen from the Westlaw main page. Our subscription to Westlaw also provides access to practical law. You can run a global search or look at materials by practice area, sector, resource type, or jurisdiction. A broad search, like this search for the word environmental, reveals quite a few documents dealing with environmental issues. In the filters, we are able to see many resource types available, including practice notes, standard documents, standard clauses, checklists, and toolkits. In the filters, we can also see which practice areas have documents concerning environmental law. Obviously, real estate has the largest number of documents in our results set, but there are many additional practice areas that contain environmental documents. Let's look at the Environmental Due Diligence Access Letter Agreement. There are notes integrated into this document that will help explain to the drafter the significance of choices that need to be made when drafting this document. When you download the form to fill out, you have a choice of getting just the document or the document with the drafting notes included. At the bottom of the page are links to related content on practical law that might help you with this step or the next in helping your client. On Lexis, a good place to look for forms is to select Practical Guidance from the home page. Lexis Practical Guidance is designed for attorneys in transactional practices and is organized according to practice areas. While we could just type something in the search bar, there is a list of topics and tasks which may help us find some useful information. Let's look at energy and utilities as an example. While we could run a search here, there are a number of topics and tasks which can be browsed in this practice area. Selecting green tech and renewable energy, we can now narrow by document type, practice notes, templates, clauses, checklists, articles, and secondary materials. We can also narrow by jurisdiction, industry, or task. Additionally, some documents are designated as core documents. This core document on green leasing has links to the subheadings in the document, as well as links to related content. Bloomberg Law has a similar collection of documents, also called Practical Guidance. While Bloomberg Law no longer has an environmental practice area, it still has a number of useful overviews, checklists, sample agreements, drafting guides, sample policies, and other documents that could provide useful language in drafting documents with environmental considerations. This practical guidance on environmental litigation is from an ESG perspective, so links to relevant securities laws and regulations. There are a number of guidance documents focusing on ESG investing principles under ERISA. The last resource we'll look at is Practical Law Institute's PLI Plus. This is accessed through the alphabetical list of databases. You can search books, forms, and checklists, transcripts, or all content. Or you can browse, filtering by format, date, and practice area. This was a browse filtered by format, forms, and checklists, which contain the word environmental. Let's look at the first checklist of topics to cover in Environmental Law Compliance Program. This screen allows us to download the checklist, but it also provides a link to the book this came from. Here we can see the checklist in the context of the book that it appears in. Remember that forms are only a starting point, a defense against a blank computer screen. Your clients are counting on you to apply your legal expertise to make sure the documents you ultimately produce are tailored to their individual needs. You may need to consult a number of sources to find all the provisions you use as a starting point, especially in complex situations. The form book is a tool to be used by, not a replacement for, a lawyer.